Good. Right. So it is the topic remains with Parkinson's. My guest is Alex Reed. He's director and founder of the European Parkinson Therapy Centre. So, Alex, thank you very much indeed for taking a few minutes to chat.
Thank you for inviting me.
And Alex is also a sufferer of Parkinson's, and you've had Parkinson's for 16 years or so. Is that right?
That's correct. 16 years.
Okay. Now, I just a few moments ago spoke with a neurosurgeon and a patient who had deep brain stimulation therapy.
Stimulation,
and,
yeah.
Yeah, and the patient seemed fine and happy, but I gather that's not your approach at all. How do you help people with Parkinson's?
Well, there are 4 pillars to maintaining quality of life with Parkinson's. The first pillar is medicines. Medicines are fundamental, no questions about it, and surgical procedures like DBS, and indeed focused ultrasound and many other things which we know a lot about. But medicines by themselves cannot give you quality of life. DBS, I've had DBS. Well, I've pretty much had everything they can do to me done.
So you've tried out all the medicines by the sound of things.
Yeah, I've even tried all the American medicines, which are not available over here in Europe, because I lived in America for 6 months, and they have some excellent medicines in America. I have a very good question for the FDA when we do our webinar in October. Why the hell do the Americans get these good medicines and we get all this stuff which is 150 years old?
Okay, is there a simple answer to that?
Yes, money.
that sounds like it might be another show.
Yeah, you could have me going for 2 hours on levodopa medicines.
Yeah,
so
all right.
I don't think you want me to. I don't think we want to do that.
Yeah, that'll be another show. Let's park that to one side. So you were talking about the 4 pillars and how the first pillar is medicine.
Yeah, I've been told 10 years ago that was the only pillar there was. And it's true. Simon Stott, who's the Deputy Director of Scientific Research at Cure Parkinson's UK, said to me the other day that 80% of all research on Parkinson has been done in the last 20 years. I think that's totally true. We've learned a hell of a lot in the last 20 years. But one of the things we've learned is that there's not going to be a cure for Parkinson's. Sorry to bring that bad news to your audience, but that's the truth.
Right.
Why? Because Parkinson's is not a disease. I better explain that. Parkinson's is a family of conditions under one umbrella.
Right.
Everyone with Parkinson's has Parkinson's in a slightly different way. Some people block, some people have psychological problems, some people have problems with moving their arms, some people have Pisa syndrome, that's when they're slightly bent over. Some people go off and on. That's when DBS comes in useful. There's so many types of Parkinson's, it's unbelievable.
So these are different types of disease or different symptoms that are shown by sufferers? Or is that the same thing? I'm not really sure. I'm not a medical guy.
They would all be clumped under Parkinson's because they all have the same thing in common, the lack of levodopa.
Right.
Sorry, dopamine. The lack of dopamine is common to all people, but it manifests itself in a different way in every person.
Okay.
So some people, and unfortunately I have some here in the center, one who's a very close friend of mine, She got Lewy body dementia. So Parkinson can progress in various directions and transform itself into various different forms of Parkinson. So if you're going to cure Parkinson's, you're going to have to cure all 50 different types of Parkinson's. One of the best things would be to have a medicine actually reactivated our dopamine production, but that would solve 50% of our problem. The truth is that they're having a lot of problems in finding a way of getting dopamine production. So I've just taken medicine. I'm trying to swallow them at the same time.
Yes, so trying to interviewing at the same time is probably a bit unfair. So yeah, take a drink. So let me ask you, you were talking about the 4 pillars. So we're looking at medicine, which helps some people or deal with some of the symptoms. Wow. So essentially you're looking at ways to help people live with
the word is quality of life.
Quality of life, right.
Quality of life. And not quality of movement, not anything else. That's what people with Parkinson want to have. It's what we all want to have, actually.
Of course.
And quality of life you don't get from medicines. Medicines, you can take antidepressants. You can take various other types of medicines, but we take enough medicines, thank you. I don't want to take any more. So
all right,
we get our quality of life from the 4 pillars, and the second pillar is exercise.
Right.
There is so much research on exercise, unbelievable amounts, from the UK, from Australia, from the USA, and from Holland. And we are linked into probably the world's most famous and leading researcher, Becky Farley, and we introduced her concept of neurotherapy. Let me explain. Physiotherapy is physical therapy. If you break a leg, you go to a physiotherapist. She'll give you a list of things to do so your leg gets stronger.
Yep.
Our problem is not our leg. Our problem is neurological. So that's why when we hire a new physiotherapist, we always hire direct from university, then send them to Arizona or to Oxford, where our 2 bases are, and they do a postgraduate degree in neurotherapy or neurological physiotherapy, which is very different from physiotherapy. Now, my daughter just graduated from Italian University. She did 20 work experience programs with hospitals across the north of Italy in Parkinson departments. Only 1 did neurotherapy. All the others did physiotherapy.
Okay, you got me on the edge of my seat here. I want to know what neurotherapy is.
Neurotherapy, put in simple terms from a guy who is not a neurotherapist, is a form of physiotherapy which involves the person's brain in everything they do. So the first thing a neurotherapist would say to a client, not a patient, please, would be stop and think. Think whilst you're moving, because what we're looking for is to change their way of moving. For example, if someone has trouble moving their arms, the best thing you can do is put the right leg forward, left arm forward. Then say think, change, and that they should swing their arm and swing their leg. They often only swing their leg and quite forget out the arm. What we have to do is repeat that, use big movement because it helps with learning. What we're trying to do is create a new neural pathway in our brains, which becomes predominant and substitutes the old way of walking. That's why I walk I got a bit of dyskinesia at this moment, but I walk perfectly normally. I swing my arms. No one would know. No one would know I had Parkinson's.
Right. So does that boil down to repetition, doing this movement over and over and over and over again until your brain relearns the way to do it?
Big movement, repetition. LSVT big was the very first worldwide standard for Parkinson rehabilitation, physical rehabilitation. And that was produced by Becky Farley. And Becky Farley went on, she's from Arizona. She went on, she's a researcher, and she produced PWR. We use PWR here. In fact, we're the only center in Europe who has a license to train other physiotherapists with PWR. We have a training facility just down the road where we're training people across Italy at the moment. We'll do the rest of Europe later. We're working in Italy at the moment, and the courses are totally sold out. People know that they don't know how to treat Parkinson's, and that is wrong. So the first thing we're working on is exercise and getting people who know how to help people with Parkinson's to exercise in the right way.
Okay, let me ask you a question about the exercise. Because you said it's repetition to kind of, if you like, relearn, for instance, say the walking motion, whatever it may be. Now, in my ignorance, when I did a little bit of homework before talking to you, and in my ignorance, I assumed, right, that the movement part, the exercise pillar, was potentially something to do with when I do exercise, I get exhausted, and then you have that kind of feel-good factor, the feel-good chemical in the brain, it starts to kick in. Now I can see you're smiling, so it looks like it's nothing to do with that at all.
No, you did do your research very well. You just didn't read chapter 2.
All right.
Exercise does actually burn dopamine. If you do exercise, if I put you on a stationary bicycle and make you pedal at what we call forced exercise, about 20% faster than you would feel comfortable in pedaling, and your heart rate went up to 85%, and you held that for 10 minutes, you'd be pretty exhausted, I know, but you'd also be burning a lot of dopamine. And when you get off the bicycle, you'll probably feel not that great. You need to take extra levodopa. That only is right at the beginning, because after a while, what Jay Alberts, who's the guy who discovered this, found is that we start producing dopamine whilst we're cycling. Instead of burning dopamine, we start producing it, and we show videos which demonstrate this to the people who come here. So why do we show videos?
That's useful to your clients, is it? If you have Parkinson's, right?
They should see this. We have the right to know. We're not idiots. We're not handicapped. People with Parkinson's have the right to know why we're being put on I'm not allowed to say this on the radio, so a stupid bicycle for 20 minutes a day. A physiotherapist won't tell us. We will not only tell them, we'll show them the research evidence that proves that it works. Result, people do the therapy here with much more vigor, much more enthusiasm, and much higher results. In 4 days, we can improve physical attributes by 20%. That's the length of your stride and the movement of your arms, your balance, or whatever. 4 days, 20%. That's incredible.
That is incredible.
And we prove it because we've got a computer which has lasers that far out the side. We make them walk up and down at the beginning of the week and the end of the week, and we then put 2 results together, and it shows you the difference. And the results are spectacular. People's stride length has increased by more than 20% often.
Okay.
And there is a lady downstairs who owns the bar. She said to me, it was a couple of weeks ago, "What are you doing with all these wheelchairs?" I said, "What do you mean?" She said, "A lot of people will arrive in a wheelchair or with one of those buggies, and they go home walking quite normally. They're not walking on water, unfortunately, but we do get incredible results with neurotherapy. And the wheelchairs, I will tell you what we do with them. We give them to the old people's home. We donate them to the old people's home just down the road."
All right, so
But
they're still used.
yeah, they're still used. But the point being that doctors are too quick in putting people with Parkinson's into a wheelchair. They think he's having problems walking, poor lad, put him in a wheelchair. Disaster. Never ever that should happen. A person should keep trying to walk and keep trying to walk for as long as physically possible. Because as soon as you stop walking, you lose neuroplasticity, which is the effect of improvement, and neuroprotection. Neuroprotection, again, we show a video which demonstrates that exercise protects your brain from degeneration.
Okay.
A little bit ironic that quite a lot of sports people do end up getting Parkinson's. I know that, but it does help protect your brain.
Okay.
That's only the second pillar.
It is, but you've made me want to ask a question, which is probably an unfair question. You said a lot of sports people seem to end up getting Parkinson's, even though they do a lot of exercise. That must be due to another factor. Does anyone know what that might be?
Well, I think Muhammad Ali, I think you can guess what that was.
Yeah, he was punched.
Muhammad Ali, he knocks the head.
Yeah.
A number of footballers, we've had some very famous footballers come to the centre. Ex-footballers, obviously.
Yeah.
Heading the ball.
As simple as that? Do you think it's too many whacks to the head?
Whacks to the head are a major factor. Okay. Another major factor of getting Parkinson is stress. Ironically, Parkinson's is a man-made condition. If we didn't have stress and we didn't hit our head against a wall or any of those things, Parkinson would not exist. And yet Parkinson in the next 20 years will double. One famous neurologist has said it's a pandemic. It's just not a virus. Now, the last pandemic I heard of was called COVID.
Yeah, I remember that.
14 months, we had 5 or 4. How do I show it? Like that. We have 5 or 4.
You can answer it if you like. We'll all eavesdrop.
Vaccines. We had 4 or 5 vaccines. That's after 14 months. Yeah. Parkinson's was first discovered 208 years ago. Today, there does not exist a single medicine. So it's a pandemic, sure, not a viral pandemic in the way that COVID is, but they can't find a way of curing it. And we're working very closely with Fox Foundation, Parkinson UK, Parkinson Europe, PD Warriors, many of the big organizations, to say to pharmaceutical companies, you've forgotten about us. What the hell's going on?
Yeah. Well, there's plenty of people with it, and due to be more. So as far as a pharmaceutical company is concerned, that means there's money in it. So they need to get on and sort it out, don't they?
Well, there's money in selling symptomatic. They can make much more money selling levodopa than they can selling a cure, because they cure us, they'll stop making money.
Okay, maybe.
And that's a conspiracy theory. But yes. I don't think it's necessarily true. I think they genuinely are having trouble finding a cure.
Right. Now, I Alex, I keep interrupting you. You keep trying to tell us the 4 pillars, and I keep interrupting you. So carry on.
No, I'm
we've done
enjoying
2.
it. Yes, I know, and we've got the best 2 to come.
All right.
The third one is lifestyle. Lifestyle, that sounds awfully fancy. It's nothing more fancy than the choices you make in your life. You can, including food, what you eat, but let's leave that aside for a moment. If you choose to be a victim, if you choose that you are ill and you choose that you cannot live with Parkinson, you will become a victim. That is a fact, and that is the saddest fact, which I can think of. 66% of people with Parkinson's live on the dark side of Parkinson's, not knowing that they can have a wonderful life. And that is it. You got to choose. Parkinson changes your life. I'm not hiding that. Nobody's going to play games and hide that. And it's going to make your life more difficult sometimes. Like I've got dyskinesia at the moment. It's not bothering me, maybe bothering you, but that's another issue. I am quite happy, and living with Parkinson's means living and accepting that there'll be good moments and bad moments, and sometimes you'll have dyskinesia or you'll block, or sometimes you go off your medicines. Going off your medicines means that you don't have any dopamine production, and your levodopa dosage hasn't arrived in your brain yet. So you have no neurotransmitter. Dopamine is neurotransmitter. That
So
means
what happens then? You just kind of freeze.
Exactly. You can't transmit messages to your legs. How are you going to tell your legs to move? So you end up either freezing or walking like a penguin. You've probably seen people do that. And it's quite embarrassing. I personally do not mind going off. I will start walking like a penguin and have a good old laugh.
Do you get a warning of it? When it happens,
Sorry?
is there a warning, or is it like just happen?
Yeah, there is a warning. You feel yourself going off, but by the time you feel yourself going off, it's too late.
Right.
Ironically, that's another of the questions we're asking in our webinars. Why do the Americans have better medicines in America than we have in Europe? And I said this at the beginning, Ritari is an excellent medicine. Even our own top neurologist, Fabrizio Stocchi from Rome, said it's the best levodopa carbidopa combination he's ever seen. It was approved by the EMA, but never distributed in Europe because of cost.
Yeah.
Well, they've come up with another medicine called Imbrija. Fortunately, I can get Imbrija because I have a doctor in the States.
You have contacts.
But you can't if you don't have contact, shall we say.
Yeah.
Imbrija is emergency medicine. If I feel myself going off, it's so simple. You take this, which is an inhaler, put a pill in it, clip it down, breathe it in, and within 5 minutes, you're back on.
Okay, so I'm just going to describe. It looks just like an inhaler for asthma, and it's very quick and simple to use. Yeah, because not everyone could see that. That would be.
I understand that.
Yeah, Alex, I'm going to have to move you along a little bit onto pillar number 4, if I may.
Willingly, psychology. That's a major pillar. The way you see your Parkinson has a massive effect on the way you live with your Parkinson's. You, Mike, I'm sorry to tell you this, and I'm going to bring you bad news. You have a neurodegenerative, acute condition, which will kill you.
Aging, isn't it?
Exactly.
Getting old.
You worried about that?
Not usually.
It's my birthday today. It's my birthday today, and everyone keeps bringing me presents and congratulating me. Why are they congratulating me? I'm 1 year older. They should be saying, I'm so sorry you're 1 year nearer to death. But they don't. We have a bloody party. Parkinson's is the same. It's a neurodegenerative condition, acute, which there is no cure. We learn to live with aging. We can learn to live with Parkinson's. It's the same concept. The problem with Parkinson's is it was never part of the plan. I got it at Parkinson's at 44. I planned out traveling the world with my wife and my grandchildren and lots of things. All of that went out of the window. I was self-employed as a business consultant, earning very good money. That went out the window too. So I used my business consulting knowledge to set up this no-profit European Parkinson's Therapy Center, which is unique. It's the only one of its kind in the world, which is designed not to be just a therapy center. Yes, we offer the best therapy available in the world: neurotherapy, forced exercise, low intensity neurostea, biofeedback. Look, it's boring, but we offer the best therapy in the world. But what good is therapy if when you go back home, you don't apply it and are able to maintain what you need to do to stay well with Parkinson's? Right. This center is designed to teach you to live with Parkinson's by giving you the best therapies, which demonstrates within 4 days that within 4 days you can improve your condition by 20%. And they know it because some of them are walking without wheelchairs, some of them are swinging their arms, some of them they feel better. So they join our online internet group, which continues the program online. Yeah. And they feel better and continue to do the exercise. There is a very important point here. Psychology, Parkinson is one of the few diseases, and I don't like that word, I prefer the conditions, that the person who has that condition can change the future outcome of that condition. Wow, that means I have a say in how my Parkinson will progress. Not a little say, I have a big say by exercising, choosing to do things which are good, which I enjoy, making the right choices, lifestyle, and psychologically thinking positively. Well, any positive thinking is good news. And most people with Parkinson think they can't do as much as they can. And we prove to them that they can still. I have 16 years of Parkinson. I can still do most things. And if I can't, I'll try again. I'll try again. And if I still can't, I'll try again. Never give up and always believe. And people with Parkinson can have a good life.
Okay, right, Alex. That is a fabulous note and message to end on. But please, can you, if people are listening to this and they're thinking, right, this chap Alex, I think can help me, or I would like to find out a bit more about Parkinson's in general, what's a good resource for them to look at?
Yeah, that is a very good question and very important question. Be careful of the internet. It's full of misconceptions. Some people will go on the internet and be convinced they'll die in 2 years of Parkinson's. That's a load of rubbish. Some people go on the internet and it actually says on one of the big sites, within 20 years you'll be in a wheelchair. Rubbish, total rubbish. Go to websites which are well established. Parkinson UK, actually, I will give credit to. We worked with Steve Ford when he was working there. We work with them still. They're an excellent organization. Their website is very good. Also, the European Parkinson's Disease Association. They're just changing their name to European Parkinson's, just as well, because the old name was too long. Their website is excellent. The other one is Davis Finney Foundation. You need to Google that. They have a really upbeat website. David Finney was a world-class cyclist. He got Parkinson's and he set up a foundation. The other one is parkinsonstherapy.com. That's easy to remember.
Yeah.
Parkinson, without the S, therapy.com. That happens to be our website. And there you will find the 4 pillars, the explanation. You find details. We've even written a book, which was a bestseller 5 years ago. We wrote it together as a BBC because we had people from the BBC over here. So it's actually fairly.
I will endeavour to put those links that you mentioned on my blog, so people can find them easily. And so, Alex, thank you very much indeed for chatting.
No, thank you very much for giving me the chance to express to everyone with Parkinson's, don't give up. It is not what you think it is. You can live with Parkinson's.
Excellent. All right. Alex,
message received.
Message received. Yeah, look, thank you very much indeed. I feel like we could have talked for like another hour or two.
I'd love to.
Well, maybe we'll have to revisit. I don't know if there are any topics you want to revisit, like this idea of the research, what research is happening.
Oh yeah.
And go into some more details about that. That could be really interesting at some time.
I'd love to do that. I'd love to bring in Simon from Cure Parkinson. He's one of our UK's top people on research.
All right.
I'd love to bring in the Fox Foundation. We can do that.
All right.